Hi, I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. A special thank you to my patrons, Acrophobe, Christina, Wild Rose, Lauren Chris, Michael B. Petty, That British Unicorn, Jam Beans, Debbie Elliott, and D. Higgins. So today the energy I'm going to give you is tired exhaustion and resignation. It's been a very live-heavy week for Chantal, and I try and incorporate as many clips as I can from her actual videos. But fun fact, if you guys know about what happened with my Friday video, a lot of my software and my computer it's having just like a host of weird issues. It's not even that old of a laptop. It's a pretty good one, I thought, but I don't know that much about tech. Though others and the internet have assured me that it is a pretty good one. So I don't really know what's wrong. All that is to say, I don't know what's wrong, not sure how to fix it. I'm trying to get a workaround. I'm going to see if I can use like partner's laptop or something. But as it stands right now, I don't really know what's going to happen with the clips. I'm probably not going to be able to edit any of the longer videos that she has. She has a lot of videos this week that were like 4.5 hours, 3 hours long. My software will not allow me to edit videos that are longer than 2 hours. I am working on that. I'm hoping that I can have I can just like find a different software, something that works a little bit better. But right now, unfortunately, it is what it is. That being said, I'm still going to try and summarize as much of Chantal's week for you guys as I can so that you guys have a full picture of kind of what's happening. Basically, the way that I would describe it is a lot of filler with a few moments of intense rage and anger from her, which is to be expected from Chantal. Now, if you guys don't know, I put out an additional video on Chantal last week. She said some stuff that I thought was pretty anti-Semitic. And I'll link the video up here so you guys can go and check that out if you so desire. You don't have to, but I did want to cover it. I did want to talk about it. I will not be covering those two videos in this video here. And all the proceeds from that video are going directly to the Southern Poverty Law Center. So I'm not profiting off of that video. I don't want it. I'm going to match the donations 1-to-1 and from my own pocket, and I'll donate everything from there. To that point, I've had a few of you comment that the Southern Poverty Law Center is maybe not the best place that I could have donated, and that there are other charities that benefit Holocaust survivors, for example. If you guys want to link some down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. If any of you are interested, you guys can go directly there and donate it. My proceeds are still going to be going to the Southern Poverty Law Center because the way that I think that I can make the most difference here is to donate to something that will help fight nationalism and extremism and bring an end to it so that future generations aren't impacted by it as well. The organization is by no regards perfect, but very few organizations are, and they're doing a lot of work. If you have difference of opinions, go ahead, please. Donate your money where you think it will be best suited. This is where I'm donating. You don't have to support it, but it is what it is. And all of you wise asses that are coming on here and saying that I'm just using this as an opportunity to make a political statement, sure, yeah, let's go with that. I don't care for these new Nazis, and you may quote me on that, okay? Okay. Other than it being a very live, happy week, I'm also pretty still like mad at Chantal, as it were. I said it in my last video too. I don't hold a lot of like anger or hatred inside of me. I'm just not good at it. I find it very exhausting. So more times than I can count, if I'm really mad at something, I have the initial burst of anger, maybe even a little bit of hatred, and then it just sort of fizzles out as time goes on. I don't have the energy for that kind of thing in my life. So generally, unless something really like interests me, I don't tend to keep track of it, especially if it bothers me. So just like with that, I mean, I'm down from being like, I hate Chantal to I really dislike Chantal. I'm still not back at the, she interests me, but I also find her irritating levels that I'm generally at with her. So take that for what it will. I might be a little extra short with her. Forgive me if I am. I will try not to be mean, but she makes it really, really hard to be kind to her sometimes. With all of that insane preamble, let's get into it, shall we? For her first video, I can summarize it, the entire length of it, with just a few really quick statements. First thing is that she signs up for HelloFresh. that is fantastic. I said it in regards to Amber Lynn before too, but if you have the availability to pay for something like HelloFresh or Plated or Sunbasket or one of the billion other like meal subscription services, I would really recommend you do that. If you can't even like cook that much, you know, you really want something that just comes to your house prepared freshly like Amber does, is also another great option. They can provide you with the calories for it, like healthy portions, all of that. So all it does is it comes to your house. You need to do a little bit of prep, or in the case of Freshly, no prep, and you have a delicious, relatively healthy meal ready for you to go. Especially if you're not a great cook, right? This can be a great way to introduce you to a lot of different types of cuisines and different types of foods, and you can keep the carbs and you can make the food later, something that Chantal mentions in her video as well. So it can be a great introduction to cooking, especially if you are a young person. And if you guys are maybe working in like a tech startup or something like that, I would really check what the perks of your office are. I've had a couple of coworkers of mine who actually get stuff like, oh, we get, I think one coworker of mine, she gets like Plated, or no, Blue Apron. She gets Blue Apron discounted through her work. So you want to kind of keep an eye on that as well, because some companies can offer you really great perks like that. Take advantage of it if you can. Build up your repertoire with cooking. Find a few dishes that you really like that are relatively healthy that you can just make over and over again, something that you will enjoy. For me, I have a healthy version of a butter chicken that I make. I have a Thai coconut soup that I make over and over again. I've got like a veggie fried rice. These are things that I know that we enjoy, that I can just make. They're very quick. They're like under 30-minute meals, and they're full of like everything that I would need. They've got a healthy fat, you know, protein, carb, everything, and a ton of vegetables. So you can just make those. It'll make your life easier. So Chantal getting this, I think, is a fantastic idea. And if you guys are fans of her, if one of you guys are a fan of her and you've managed to stumble in here somehow, I would recommend following her link if she's linked it down below. I didn't check. But if she has linked it down below, follow her link through Freshly and give her credits. I want to encourage that. I want her to encourage getting HelloFresh, and I want her to encourage getting those meal kits and eating those meal kits as opposed to ordering food out that might not be great for her. So good on her for that. She does say that Pete's would not like half of these. And my worry with that is that if she orders something that Pete's does not like, but it's like a two-person meal, and Pete's ends up not liking it, she might eat both portions. Portion control is an issue for Chantal as it is. So that might not necessarily be a great idea. But if she can exercise it, and if she can maybe check beforehand with Pete if it's a kind of thing that he would like to eat, and if he says, no, I don't think I'll be interested, maybe just order one portion, that might make it a little bit easier on her. I think it's a great idea. Honestly, I'm very, very like happy that she's doing this, quite frankly speaking. I'm not generally very happy with Chantal's food choices, but this is, I think, a step definitely in the right direction, especially because we have seen that she does have difficulty like getting things prepped and whatnot, but she does like cooking. So this will take some of that work out where you have to like chop and cut and get everything ready, and you can just go directly to the step where you can like throw everything into a pan or whatever and just cook it and eat it, you know? Another thing is you can see a lot of the background in her house. And, you know, like Box Mountain is still like miles high. She's got crud all over her counters. It's absolutely filthy. Her house is gross. Pete has never struck me as the kind of person to take an intense interest in cleaning anyway. I think that he probably keeps his room like semi-tidy, but Chantal had also mentioned in one of her previous videos that her half of the deal was that she would help clean the house, because that's not a thing that Pete does. So the fact that it's so gross is not surprising to me, especially when you take into consideration the state of her room. If she's in charge of all of the cleaning pretty much, and her room got that disgusting, then the rest of the house is obviously going to get that disgusting, right? Still, it doesn't speak very well of her like mental state. I've said this before in other videos regarding Chantal, that cleaning and like having a clean house and trying to be like mentally healthy are like symbiotic, right? So the more you clean your house, the healthier you feel, like the cleaner like your decluttered your mind feels, and the better you can kind of generally feel mentally if you go through the cleaning process. But getting to that start, trying to start cleaning, you require a certain level of energy, enthusiasm that I think can be a little bit hard to muster. I think forcing yourself to do it, even if you don't have the motivation for it, even if you just do like one part of it, right? Like just breaking down the boxes or just cleaning the countertop, just accomplish one thing, and it can have a snowball effect, really give you that motivation you need to continue on and keep on doing it. Just like try doing one thing. And sometimes that can be tough, But once more, because I'm a fan more than anything else, if I can misquote SmokeySteveAndMarc, sometimes depression manifests as laziness, but laziness also manifests as laziness. And I think this is a combination of the two of them. Another thing in this video is she's breathing alarmingly hard. If you listen to her, she is barely moving. I think she gets up to like wash a couple of things. She goes to sit on the couch for a little bit, and she like generally just moves around a little bit, but she's breathing so hard. Like at some points it's that difficult. Like I feel out of breath looking at her. That's like my breathing when I'm trying to do like 1,200 feet elevation gain in a hike. And yes, I am referencing what I did this past weekend. It's tough. I'm amazed that she's breathing that hard, that's just okay. Like I know she has a pulmonary embolism, and obviously like her weight doesn't help with that, but I'm surprised her doctor isn't doing anything, giving her anything for that outside of just like one like asthma pump thingy. Like I don't know. It doesn't seem like that's safe. It doesn't seem like that's healthy for her. Anyway, next, she makes chicken parm in this video. She uses Prego, which she has in the house. She'd shown us last week that she had Prego and like canned beans that had like made with maple syrup, and she said how she was going to get rid of all of those plus the packaged food because they all have sugar in them, and then that's what makes her crave those things. So she said she was going to get rid of all of that and all the packaged food so that she wouldn't have them in her house and wouldn't be tempted to binge on them. And that's why she orders Taco Bell afterwards and then McDonald's after that, right? Like her last on track day. So then why is all of this back in her house? Did she just do lip service? Like tell us she was going to get rid of it, but then not actually get rid of it? Because then why did she order Taco Bell and McDonald's if she still had the food in her house? Why didn't she just eat that? I thought I thought the entire point of it, and even then I'd said that, like if you're going to get rid of food, why not just eat that food rather than ordering food from outside? But fine, say you got rid of all of the food and you still were craving it and you couldn't control yourself, and then you ordered Taco Bell and then you ordered McDonald's, like that's understandable. I wouldn't say it's fine, but it's understandable. But having the food in your house and still choosing to basically eat off track, quote unquote, in her head, she said that having a funeral is never a good idea, but that she's going to have a funeral anyway, right? Like food funeral again. So I don't understand, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Like, what are you doing? Did you not get rid of the food? Were you just lying to us then? Like, what, girl? Another thing is that she made the cake for Pete's in her other two videos where she's being anti-Semitic, and that Pete hasn't actually eaten any of the cake because he keeps forgetting, but she says that the cake is very good. That means she's had some of the cake. So she made Pete's a cake, but then Pete's hasn't eaten any of the cake, but she's eaten the cake. But Pete's forgot, that's why he didn't eat. It's totally not that Chantal made a cake, told us it was for Pete's, when in reality she made it so that she could have some of the cake, and is now rapidly eating the cake, and Pete is just generally not feeling it, so he hasn't even tried the cake, and it might even be gone already. Right? That's not a thing, right? Okay. Another weird thing that she does with her food is she talks about how, like, well, she's only getting seconds, She asks her chat, she's like, should I get seconds? And a ton of people don't really say anything, and they're negative. And she goes ahead and she eats, like, a second portion of food, and then she gets really, like, mad at everyone. She's like, well, I get so much hate for eating second portions of food. People eat second portions of food. People eat third portions of food. They eat fourth portions of food, You don't know. Everybody has different needs. Everybody gets hungry. That's an everyday thing, she says. And I've said before, eating a second portion of food is fine. Eating a third portion of food is fine even. But that's predicated on the fact that you're not eating a massive portion of food beforehand, right? Say if you're eating a, 400 calorie meal, right? After you eat the 400 calorie meal, you think to yourself, you know what? I'm actually really still hungry and I would like to eat a little bit more. You wait a little bit. You check in with yourself. You see, okay, assess your hunger. Okay, I'm still hungry. All right, I'm going to go and get another portion of that, right? Or another half portion of that or whatever. And then you consume that. That's not what Chantal does often. What Chantal will often do is order 4, 5, 6 portions. I'm maybe being a little facetious, but she has in the past ordered like 4 portions of food. I'm thinking of the Indian food mukbang, where she puts all of it out in front of her and then she eats as much of it as she possibly can. So when you're sitting there and telling me that, well, she's doing what other people do on a day-to-day basis, no. Most people do not order 4 portions of food for just themselves and then eat all of that simultaneously. And then once they're done, they're like, okay, I'll have maybe some more later, right? Most people would order 1 portion of food, 2 portions of food for themselves. I have ordered 3 portions of food if it's something that I really, really want to try from a restaurant that I don't often have access to. Partner and I will order like 3 different entrees, and we'll just take a little bit out of each one of them, pack everything up, and put it back in the fridge. You know what I mean? I can understand that, but that's not what you do. You put it in front of you and you see how much of it you can eat all in one go. That is literally the opposite of portioning your food out and eating another portion if you're hungry. You just make a massive amount of food 1 portion, and then later, when you've made just the tiniest amount of space in your stomach because the food gave you the runs, you will go and you'll eat another portion. Your version, by the way, of a portion, not what a regular portion is for regular people. So no, those are not, that's not what regular people do, right? If I make myself chicken parm, I don't eat a portion of chicken parm and then 10 minutes later be like, I'm also going to go eat that other portion of chicken parm, even though my stomach hasn't even had the time to register the first portion of chicken parm. And by the way, I'm still a fat lady, right? So if I'm telling you that there's something wrong in the way that you're thinking about food, I'm telling you this from experience. I'm not saying this to you as someone who's like got all their life together, who's like super, super thin. But if I'm telling you that, hey, this is a thing I've recognized that I'm doing that is wrong, and I'm recognizing it in you too, maybe give it a little bit more credence. I think that deserves more credence than coming from someone who's never struggled with food. I know how your mind is working right now. I've seen myself behave that way and act that way before. I just don't think that she recognizes how far away from normal her behavior towards food actually is. And this is what she's doing right now, is like justifying it, using the language that she's been given by her dietitian and whatnot. And once more, dietitians are not therapists. So just because your dietitian says that you should do one thing, which we'll get back to that, doesn't mean that that might be what's psychologically best for you, because they don't have a psychology degree. Fun fact. Anyway, another thing I noticed in this video was just how pushy Karate Joe was. I don't really know much about him as a person. I know he's one of her mods, but the way that he talks to Chantal in this video was something that I found very particular. Chantal takes a lot of exception to being told what to do, which is what surprises me about his continued presence as a mod on her channel. He is so weirdly pushy with her. He's so weirdly pushy with her. He's like, wrap it up, wrap it up, wrap it up. Like, look, I can come on here and I can tell you till I'm blue in the face that, you know what, I think Chantal's doing is wrong. But I'm part of the hater nation, quote unquote, right? So like, that's like part and parcel with having that. Karate Joe is one of her fans. So I don't understand how he can come on here, criticize her, and be like, wrap it up, you're on here too long. Come on, Chantal, to bed, to bed, to bed. Like acting like he's her dad or something. Like that would weird me out. I can understand people coming on here and being like, oh, I don't agree with your choices, blah, blah, blah. I think you're fat. I think you're ugly. Not that I've said any of those things, but I can even like understand people doing that. But if someone's coming on here bossing me around on my own channel and doing it as a fan, I'd be skeeved out by that. Like those are the kind of people who I think sometimes go a little bit too extra, if you know what I mean. And I'm talking about the John Lennon situation, okay? Like that, I would worry about that. I would worry about like somebody who was that pushy with me and was still a fan. Anyway, next.
How many times do we eat something and have so much guilt over it? It's just food, right? Emotional mind wanting the chocolate cake. So this, she said, realistically, I want you to expect that this is going to take a long, it's not something that is, easy to do. And just asking me questions like, how do you feel like, how is a typical day of eating? I said, sometimes I order fast food twice a day. Then if I don't go to bed and I'm up all night, I'll order snacks from the gas station or whatever and just eat. And like, are you really hungry when you're doing that? Like listening to your body. There's all kinds of things. So I'm just like, I'm in the process of learning a new, retraining your brain. It's just like, it's so much. Anyway, but just that unconditional permission to, she's not, I said, so am I going to get like a meal plan? Or are you going to tell me like eat a cup of rice with 3 ounces of protein? And she's like, no, I don't work that way. She doesn't want to give me a new set of food rules, basically, which I'm learning not to have in therapy. So, anyways, it's just, there's a lot. It was like an hour and a half of talking about my history, because when it comes to that, it's not just one size fits all. Like when I went to that doctor, the weight loss doctor, and he gave me a sheet, it's like everybody gets that same sheet. Everybody has the 1400 calories. Everybody has to limit carbs and stuff like that. And that's not, restriction will lead to binging. And, it's just,
So she talks to a dietitian who tells her that apparently, according to her, but she's paraphrased from the dietitian, is that all restriction leads to binging, and therefore she should never restrict. She should remove all mental restriction from her mind, and that's what will help her gain control of binge eating. So there's a couple things I want to say here. First and foremost, she needs to work in conjunction. This dietitian needs to work in conjunction with a therapist. Dietitians are not therapists, right? Emotional eating is very different from other types of eating. And we've seen Chantal display that. The very clearest example that I can think of was when she was reacting to Charlie Gold, the whole Charlie Cole situation. And she was sitting there and just pounding things of McDonald's like hash browns and whatnot. That was rage eating at its finest. A dietitian is, quite frankly, not qualified to diagnose that. So she needs to see like a therapist, somebody who can like deal with the emotional baggage there, help her unload some of that, and then maybe you can try intuitive eating. Trying to do intuitive eating with a woman who is as close to like permanent liver damage as Chantal is negligent as far as I am concerned. If Chantal says it herself in this video, that the first 3 months of doing IE, you might even gain weight. For a person who is maybe 200 pounds, 300 pounds, or just very, very young and at 500 pounds, perfect picture of health, and 600 pounds, it would be a different situation. Chantal is none of those things. She's got embolism after embolism in her lungs. She's got cirrhosis of the liver. Sorry, I misspeak. She's got non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. She doesn't have a gallbladder. She's got compromised gut health. And she's got a host of other problems, right? She might be mildly diabetic. We don't know. So all of these things combine to a picture of a woman who cannot be eating the way that IE requires you to eat. I'm going to leave my video on IE up here as well, so you guys can go check that out if you want to get a better idea of my thorough, in detail, in-depth thoughts about intuitive eating. And of course, you should listen to your therapist, your doctor, your dietitian if you have them, first and foremost before you listen to anything on the internet. But if you don't have those people available to you, then understand that IE is not for everyone. It is far from scientifically proven to be effective for everyone, and there is no evidence suggesting that you can teach overweight people how to eat intuitively. People who've never struggled with binge eating, with overeating, even with being fat, those people are generally shown to have like good control of eating intuitively. Great, that tells us nothing. But there's no evidence suggesting that people who have already had those issues, who are already suffering from those problems, can get to a point where they can eat intuitively. Some people I'm sure can, and some people I'm sure have, but the vast majority of them, there's no evidence. There's just no scientific evidence for that. So the fact that her dietitian is telling her to do this, I don't know. I am not there. I'm not capable of like basically passing judgment on this person when I have not met them, because I don't know. I don't know them, right? And we don't also know, by the way, if this is what the dietitian has said. We just have Chantal's word that this is what the dietitian has said. Those are very different things, and Chantal's word isn't always accurate, right? Sometimes it's because people hear what they want to hear, but sometimes it's also because Chantal hasn't always been the very most truthful person when it comes to her eating habits and whatnot. So I just hope that if her dietitian is recommending that she does intuitive eating, that she is making this recommendation after consulting with both a therapist, and hopefully Chantal's therapist, and a physician, like an actual doctor, who can also tell her, hey, I know you're telling her that she can eat everything, but she needs to lose weight fast or she's going to suffer permanent liver damage. I said this before, but once more, I feel like sometimes I'm just repeating myself. Chantal will not qualify for a liver transplant. If she gets liver cirrhosis, right, and depending on how much of it has cirrhosis will depend on whether or not they can do anything about that. Regardless, though, if she ever gets to the point of needing a liver transplant, given her history of poor mental health and binge eating and her state of morbid obesity, not only would performing a surgery like that be detrimental to her health and potentially life-threatening, but she would never even qualify for a liver transplant through regular means, right? She's an automatic hard pass. A lot of mental health conditions are, unfortunately, right, for better or for worse. The criteria there is specific for very different reasons, and I'm not going to get into it here. She'd never qualify for it. So if that happens, she'll be in a lot of trouble, and I mean a lot of trouble. You can have machines basically take over the function of your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, right? And even to a certain degree, your stomach. There's, I don't think, very much that can take over the job of your liver. So you want to be real careful here.
Yeah, you have to learn to be, first and foremost, for me, it's so hard to be compassionate with myself and truly love myself and not stop shaming myself, you know. Every time, you know, a binge happens or whatever, you know, just move on and just be kind to yourself and realize that it's not going to be perfect overnight, you know. And speaking of which, I thought of that when I watched 1,000 Pound Sisters season 2. Episode 2, Amy, I felt so bad for Amy. I feel so happy for her because, you know, I got goosebumps. She's so happy. She's having a baby and everything, but her, you know, the food is coming back. The bad food is coming back, you know, just with the cravings with the baby. But at the same time, I think, as somebody who knows what she's going through, those, you know, like, the baby can sort of be an excuse to go back to bad eating habits and just eating and eating and eating. But at the same time, I don't know, maybe it's just proof that sometimes the surgery doesn't fix everything. It doesn't fix that disordered way with food. You know what I mean? It doesn't. I don't know.
She talks about Amy and Tammy Slayton here, and I mix up the two. I'm mildly dyslexic, by the way, so I like mix up words and names that sound very similar with each other, so I forget which one of them is pregnant. I think it's Amy Slayton who's pregnant, but I could be wrong on that. Please don't quote me on that. I'm really bad with names. I'll try and see if I can check and just sort of put it across the street. Anyway, she talks about how, you know, now that, you know, Amy is like binging on food again because she's pregnant. Pregnancy cravings are very, very different from most other types of cravings. You're actively trying to gain weight, and your body will use almost any trick in the book to get you to gain that weight. So I can understand that's difficult for Amy, but you can't compare Amy's situation to your situation, which is kind of like what she's doing right now. She's saying, well, look, Amy's gaining all that weight back, even though she lost 100 pounds. That's not the same thing. Amy has got very strong hormonal urges. Like, pregnancy is no joke. The hormonal cocktail that goes through you is one of the most intense things that anyone can experience. If you guys don't believe me, read the books, right? I have seen it happen to women after woman after woman. It takes a toll on you, which is why postpartum can be so incredibly difficult on women as well. It is a very hard thing to do. So yes, if maybe she had a healthier relationship with food, maybe she wouldn't be gaining the weight back at quite a rapid pace or quite as much weight. But first of all, you should gain at least some weight in pregnancy. And second of all, it's not the same thing, right? She's got an imperative there to eat that you don't have right now. So you shouldn't be experiencing this, right? You cannot compare apples to apples.
Exactly. And that's how it is online. You know, you see it like so many times. You know, if you did you binge, you know, like that kind of attitude, like, oh, you binged. Like, you're shaming somebody who's suffering from an eating disorder, you know? Like, and I, for so long, thought we deserve that. And we don't, you know? We don't. You don't deserve that just because you binge. Like, be nice to yourself. If you binge, you're not a failure.
I agree with her on this. If you binge eat, you are not a failure. Binge eating happens to everybody. Everybody has occasionally had a hard day and decided, crap, screwed this crap. I'm just going to eat the whole pint of ice cream, right? Everybody's had a hard breakup and decided to eat like 3 more cupcakes than they should have. Everybody has had that experience where they've used food as comfort. Depending on how you feel afterwards will justify whether or not it's a binge, and kind of, you know, like how fast you eat, what you eat, why you ate, all those things can determine whether it's a binge or not. But I think everyone to a certain degree has felt that way. Binge eating disorder is a different thing, but even if you do have binge eating disorder, having had a binge does not mean that you are a bad person. Having had a binge does not make you less worthy of. It does not make you unlovable. It does not make you a bad person. It doesn't mean that you've experienced a moral failing. None of those things. None of those things are true. You are still just as worthy of help, love, affection, kindness, all of those things that every other person who did not binge is worthy of, right? So the only thing that you have to do differently from all of those other people is that if this is happening to you on a regular basis, where you regularly cannot control yourself and you're regularly binging, you should seek help. You should seek help, right? And don't do it because you want to be treated as more than you are right now. Do it because you should want you to be happy. Don't do it for any other reason than that. And that's one of the biggest things for both Chantal and Amber that I don't understand. Why they continue to choose to be unhappy. Because that's what you're doing, right? You are making it difficult for you to really go out and live your life. You can't travel. You can't move in some cases. You can't enjoy a lot of the things that a lot of other people in life do simply because of the way that you're living now, because of your choices. And I don't mean binging. Binging is not generally a choice. It's a result of trauma from when you're younger, generally, right? But choosing not to get help and choosing not to work on it when you have the means available to you means that you're choosing to live life in a sad state. And I don't know why anyone would want that. It's not noble. It doesn't make you a better person. Suffering needlessly doesn't make you stronger. Getting help from others doesn't make you weak. It's a sign of strength to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and go, you know what? I am not going to be able to do this on my own. I'm going to go get help. To be able to accurately look at your situation and assess whether or not you have the capability of dealing with it makes you a smart, rational person. And that's what you should want for yourself. That's what Chantal should want for herself. That's what Amber should want for herself. That's what Amy and Lyfe by Jen and every other person who's suffering from mental health issues that are leading them to binge should want for themselves. They should want to get better. Choosing not to get better is a choice if you have the means available to you. If you're choosing to live the rest of your life afraid of confronting your feelings, that is a choice, unfortunately. Also, lying to your audience about why you're choosing not to do something is a choice. Okay? Just throwing that out there. Because I think a lot of people think that I get mad at her because she binges or she struggles with her food or whatever. It's not really.
Marissa, anonymity makes people braver than they would face to face. You know? The thing is it doesn't matter if you're anonymous. Why would you want to hurt somebody? That still makes you a shitty person. Like, I don't go anonymous and tell off people or call them names or stuff like that. It's still, even though people don't know who you know who you are, and bringing someone down and insulting them, you're still going to get bad karma for it, you know? So
I found this very funny where she's like, I don't make a bunch of accounts and then go and like tweet mean things at people. Now, you don't make alt accounts as far as we know, though there's been some speculation on that front, but you just do that crap from your main account. I mean, I think it'd be smarter if you made an alternate account where people didn't know it was connected to you, and then you went and you were like saying mean things to other people. At least then you wouldn't get the blowback. You just do it from your main account. You rage in your post section. How is that different? Just because you don't know who the person is, you think that the words that they're saying, what they're doing, like all of a sudden it's like better? Okay. And quite frankly, I said this before too, she should put this in her videos. She should make like planned sit down videos where she systematically goes through all of our points and she destroys us with facts and logic, rather than like raging in her like community tab and then immediately deleting it. You make the drama, put it on your channel, monetize the shit out of that. A, that just makes for good YouTube. And B, you're going to make so much more money like that. Do you know how much more money? You can't monetize the community tab. You monetize the shit out of your videos. And I'm 0% interested in sitting through another 4-hour live, but you better believe that 4-hour live contained you like trying to react to like another reaction channel's video. I'd watch the heck out of that. That sounds like good YouTube. All I'm saying, it would be smart business. That's all I'm saying. There's a reason why Trisha Paytas and Nick Ocado are so successful at what they do, because they might be trolls and they might be gross. I stand behind those words 100%, but they also know what they're doing. They're very capable. They monetize the shit out of all their drama. All their drama is up online and it stays there pretty much forever. Anyway, next. Okay, this is another video that she's doing mostly where she's just sort of sitting in one place and eating. She talks about how she wants to go for a drive because she needs some exercise. And I don't know how to tell her that driving is not exercise. It's literally sitting just in a different location, but with momentum. I understand where that's coming from. A lot of times I have difficulty just sitting in one place and listening to music because I think I'm wasting my time, or I've just not been very active today. So like I'll run errands and that'll give me an excuse to sit in the car and listen to music. So I think she's doing a version of that where she's like, okay, well, there's some movement happening. But fundamentally, all that movement is in the car, right? That you yourself aren't moving. You yourself aren't expending any energy. You just want to have the illusion of having done something, so you want to get into the car and go somewhere. It's not a good coping mechanism, and it'll trick you into thinking you've actually accomplished and done more than you actually have. So, there is that. Another thing she talks about in this live is she talks about the fact that she's cheated on both BB and Pete's.
He does Victoria once in a while, but not like flirty, Like I think he's married now. So I'm really happy he's not flirty anymore, because I think that now that I've grown up some, I would feel bad, about him cheating on his wife. Like, even if you're, like, communicating, like, cheating doesn't just have to be intercourse. Like, cheating is so many things. If it's basically something you're hiding from your lover, and I have cheated in the past. Yes, I'm not perfect by any means. Would I do that again? Absolutely not. Like, I don't think my heart would allow it now, just having grown as a person in that way. It's taught me a lesson at like just realizing how bad I hurt the people I've cheated on. I just seeing their face, like, it's something that will haunt me forever, and I would never do that to somebody ever again, so BB is doing good. Yeah, like, it's just so horrible. Like, there's no getting away with cheating if you have a conscience, because it will tear you apart. Like, sometimes whenever I think about it, it just, like, really, I could feel my heart sink, and I see their face, how their face was when I first told them. I was just like, ugh. Like, that betrayal, It's the betrayal and the lying. Hi, Bella Vlogs. So, and the cheating had nothing to do with the person that I cheated on. It had to do with me being insecure, Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. But I've lived in denial a lot, and sometimes still do.
And so she cheated on BB about a year into her relationship with, I'm going to describe him as some Jamaican guy. She wasn't very clear on that and just described him by his ethnicity. And she says that, he was kind of like distantly related to their friend circle. And she told somebody who was a friend of hers, and that friend told her boyfriend, and the boyfriend told BB. And that's how BB found out. And then he said, don't lie to me. And then she told him. And then for a while, nothing was the same, right? And then she said that, she'd also cheated on Pete's. She cheated on Pete's twice, once with somebody else and then once with BB. And then she was still seeing BB around the same time as she was seeing Chantal, as she was seeing Pete's. And then she broke up with Pete's soon after she met BB. But still, there was still a crossover there, something we'd always suspected, but now we have confirmation of. I've had someone tell me in the past, I think in this channel, somebody commented, I forget who, that cheating does not make you a bad person. I would disagree with that. I think that it takes a special type of person to repeatedly break somebody's heart, because that's what you're doing. If you're in a monogamous relationship, there is an understanding that both of you are holding to that end of your bargain, right? To go and be with somebody else and to do it with the understanding that this will hurt the person that I supposedly love, right? It's purposefully committing to an action that will cause them pain. And that's crazy. And you think that has no impact on anything else. And I can understand there are situations in which I can understand cheating. You are very far away from your, significant other. You haven't seen them in years. You're in a very long distance relationship and you're apart for years, something like that, or you're in an unhappy relationship. Maybe you're in an abusive relationship, and you look for affection where you can. I can see perhaps that, right? But that's not the situation in this. Both Pete's and BB, according to Chantal herself, love her. They loved her. And she still went and she had affairs. She still cheated on them. She still broke their hearts. And she says herself, she's like, I remember the face that they had and that it, really wrecked her. And even if she thinks about it now, it makes her feel awful. And that she feels an intense amount of guilt. And she just, it had nothing to do with them. It was more about her and her insecurities. I'm happy that she feels bad about it. Not that it causes her pain, but just that she recognizes that what she did was wrong. But the fact that she did it, I couldn't do something like that. There is pretty much I would leave my partner before I would ever cheat on them, because the idea that I could cause them that kind of maybe irreparable damage, like emotional damage, is unbearable to me. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter the situation that I'm in. I couldn't do that to them. I couldn't be the cause of someone maybe going through the rest of their life thinking, what did I do that made me not good enough for the person that I gave everything to? So you can have a difference of opinion if you want. As far as I'm concerned, if you are a cheater, it automatically makes you a less good person in my eyes. And depending on who you cheated with, how many times you cheated, and why you did it, I don't know. I'm biased on this. I can't even say it's from personal experience. I've never really had anyone cheat on me, and I've never cheated with anybody. So I don't know why. It's one of those things that just the idea of it, sorry about that. Just the idea of it really, really bothers me. It's such a betrayal of somebody's trust that I can't get around. And the other thing about this is that those are the 3 times that we know of that she's cheated, that she's talked about on her channel now, right? We don't know. There might be more times. And it seems like a pattern. The fact that she will be with somebody for a while, somebody who loves her and cares about her and who she seems to love and care about, and then she'll cheat on them. And she's saying that she would never do it again now, but she hasn't been in another relationship. So we don't know if she would cheat on another relationship if she has it, right? She's had 2 long-term relationships. She's cheated on both. We simply don't know. And the audience gassing her up in her live replay is really upsetting to me. They're saying all the things are well, it happened in the past and, you should move on. People make mistakes. And I think somebody said something those who hurt have been hurt or something along those lines. No, There's a lot of people who've been hurt. There's a lot of people who have been cheated on who don't go on and become cheaters. There's a lot of people who have felt pain who don't go on and inflict that pain. There's actually, I think I read a statistic somewhere, and it could be totally wrong. I haven't looked this up recently, so I don't know. But I think I read a statistic somewhere that said that it's 1 out of every 10 people who goes on to perpetuate the same sort of emotional pain that was done to them onto others. So no, that's not actually true. Most people will recognize that. If something like that happens to them, they recognize it and they actively try and steer away from it. So 100% no. And all those people gassing her up are absolutely wrong. You can say something like, I'm glad you've learned from your mistakes and I hope you never do it in the past, without just being like, well, you were hurt, therefore you hurt. You're giving her an excuse now to do it again and just be like, well, I was hurt. Don't you know I was hurt? That's why I cheat. Don't do that. You're not like helping her here. You want her to emotionally grow and mature and become a better person. That's what I would hope for myself too. That if and there has been, by the way, there have been instances in my past where I've said and done something that was shitty and someone's come back and been like, no, you're being a garbage person right now. And because it came from people that I cared about, because it came from people that I perceived as wanting my best intentions, I paid attention to it, I took it to heart, and I changed something about myself going forward. That's what Chantal needs. She needs that from people in her life. I'm not saying to be mean. I'm not saying do it in a rude way. That's why I don't like try and attack her when I make these videos. But you can't just be like, oh, well, all is forgiven in the past. She didn't cheat on you. You don't get to forgive her, first of all. Second of all, no. Your mistakes in the past have consequences. Your mistakes in the past define who you are. The best indicator of future behavior is past behavior. The last thing is that she gets a call from her mom, and her grandmother is not feeling well, which is not great. Her grandmother has pulmonary issues. She mentioned it. I'm sorry. It's like just slipping my mind right now. Please do pray for Chantal's grandmother. If you guys are the praying kind, please pray for her. Her grandmother is an elderly woman. Times right now are hard. Even if you've got just a regular illness and it's not COVID related, it can often be very difficult for them to get treated because of COVID, because of how busy and slammed the hospitals are. And there's a huge surge going on right now. I haven't recently looked into the numbers in Quebec, in the Quebec region, so I don't know what's happening there. But I do know that in Toronto, it's not great. I mean, here in the US, it's literally the stuff of nightmares. So just keep her in your prayers, keep her in your thoughts, and I'm sending her grandmother all of the good vibes and all of the love. No matter what my heart feelings are towards Chantal, that's not something anybody should experience. And her grandmother hasn't done anything as far as I know. From what I know, she's just an older lady, No one really deserves to get COVID. No one deserves to be sick. No one deserves to go to a hospital that's so overrun with patients that they can't treat them. So keep my fingers crossed. Anyway, next. This is video number 7. It's another live. She chit-chats and she eats. That is pretty much it for this video. Next, this is video number 8. She clickbaits that she's cooking food, but that she ends up ordering from Red Lobster. And then she chit-chats. And then she eats. Yep. Next, this is another video. This is, for the first time in a very long time, it feels like to me, it feels like we've been here for 47 hours, and God knows we might have. She chit-chats and she eats, but it's not a live. She chit-chats and she eats in a planned video. I mean, the content of it isn't much different because she doesn't really discuss anything all that interesting. She says that she had, she tells us about a wet dream about a guy. I don't remember who it was about. It was kind of boring, but she did mention that she had a wet dream about someone, and she was a little bit weird about it. She's like, I shouldn't be telling you guys about my wet dreams. And she just chit-chatted back and forth about the food that she was eating. She was eating dolmas again. If you guys don't know what dolmas are, look it up. They're delicious. And she talked about I judge a place by the dolmas that they make because they shouldn't be from cans. You live in Canada. Right now it's January in Canada. Where are you guys getting fresh grape leaves in January in Canada? If you are from the Quebec region, please let me know, because as far as I know, that's not a thing that happens at that time of year in that part of the country. So I'd be interested in knowing. And that's it. Those are all of her videos. There really wasn't all that much happening in that video. I really wish there had been. I wish she talked more just about her life. She said she was going to have somebody come in and clean her house, but she said that last week. So I'm still waiting on that. She hasn't given us an update if she's cleaned her house herself. I don't know what's happening with her mental health in general. She has said that she hasn't felt like she has the motivation or the energy in one of the videos that I watched to make really videos and edit and put that up. To that, I would say it's very minimal effort, but I guess it is more effort than lives require. So I guess that's something. I don't know. I hope she gets back to doing more regular content, but I swear as I was about to record this, which if you guys don't know, I always record these the night before, I saw another thing come up on my on my laptop saying she's going live again. So, you know, there's that. I'm beginning to lose my will to live. Honestly. I am. I'm really beginning to lose my will to live. Anyway, that will be it for this video. I hope you guys took something out of it. I tried to be as lighthearted and high energy as I could be, like I normally am. I feel like maybe I was a little bit shorter with her than I normally am, or maybe that was just in my head because I still feel so angry at her that, like, I don't know if I came off snappish. If I did, it's not my intention to, but I am. I mean, like, it's hard to just be like, oh, everything is fine, let's move on and talk about other things, when she's actively still not apologized for behaving like a garbage monster. Okay. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, give me a thumbs up. If you hated this video, you can give me a thumbs down. That's totally okay. I respect everybody's opinion here. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Hit the notification bell down below and hit all so you know when I upload any video right away. If you don't follow me on social medias, you can maybe follow me on social medias. I've got all of them linked down below. I've got Instagram, where I put up all my food stuff and my life stuff, but both of those are a little lacking right now. I just haven't had the motivation to put anything on Instagram for a while. I will. I promise I will. I've got Twitter, where I put up all of my opinions and thoughts and political beliefs. So if you're curious about that and somehow miss that I'm a special snowflake, that's where you can find that information. Seriously, like, if you guys are just curious about my general views on stuff or just want to interact with me, that is genuinely the easiest way to do it. I'm on Twitter an unhealthy amount. I gotta do something about that. And I've got Patreon. Think of Patreon as the tip jar for the internet. So if you don't like, well, if you don't like it, then I guess, if you don't like the job that I'm doing here, I guess you don't have to become a patron. But if you like the job that I'm doing here and you'd like to toss a few coins in my direction, that's where you can do it. You don't have to. It's not necessary. But hey, if you want to, I would really appreciate it. And if you would rather become a community member, you can join the community down below. We are now called The Prequels. It is a great bunch of people, in that I'm the only one there, and I think I'm a great bunch of people. So if you want to join me, become a community member, I've got perks for both Patreon and for community membership. So you guys can check all those things down below. Consider it. Once more, you don't have to, no pressure, but it would really help me out. As always, I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. Peace.